Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Snodgrass, and today I wanted to cover how to implement a Domo Everywhere embedding of cards into a .NET web application that involves filtering. I found this particularly difficult to do and documentation to be a little challenging, so thought I would put together this video and hopefully you find it helpful. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to need to do is go to developerdomo.com and click on the Dev Portal login here and log into your instance. And then you get this Manage Client section, and then you can click on Create a Client, and you can give it any friendly name that you want here. And then this application scope rather. I found this area to be confusing as well. I found it successful to check these options. So I didn't think buzz and workflow were needed. So I left those out, but the other ones seem to need all of those checked in order to do it. It'd be great if this was a little more straightforward, but I haven't found that to be the case. So maybe you can get by with less, but this is what I found to do. So you're going to do that. You're going to create, and then you're going to get a clients here. And these aren't, I'm not going to use these. I'm just going to delete these anyway, but you're going to copy each of these into your Visual Studio environment, into your app settings JSON. So you're going to you should have a Domo node that looks like this and a client ID and client secret. I'm going to put those in there. We're going to get this default embed ID. You technically don't need, but I did. It's just a fallback there on a card. So you're going to put that into that. By the way, I'm going to post all this code that I have in Visual Studio into the Domo Community forum. I'll make a post in there and also link to this video and have all that code in there so you could hopefully copy and paste that into your own Visual Studio instance and get off and running with at least a sample. Once you've got that, then you're going to grab, well, let's actually just go to Visual Studio and start building out some things. So your app settings.json is you're gonna have this node created with these in here. Then you can next go to, let's start with the index page, where I did just a sample data set. And again, we'll just hop back over, pardon all the hopping around, but this is going to be a little challenging one to explain where here. So I've got two sample cards that I'm going to embed in that web application. And you see, I'm just using the sample store sales data set. Chose that because I think everybody should have that in their Domo instance. I think that gets installed pretty much when your Domo instance gets created. So you should be able to rebuild this sample implementation in your instance pretty easily. So I just did a state card with the state here in the state name, and this did the revenue in here. Didn't do anything fancy, just did the United States card chart type, and then did a same data set here for this, but just did a bar graph on there. So that's why we go back to Visual Studio now. In the index page, you see I've got basic table, state, and I'm going to loop through some states in here. So we've set up a model called state. And if we go to our models, so under models, we did a state model.cs, and all that it's in there is just this public string state. We've got that in there. And we've got next involved probably the home controller, where I'm pulling just a sample. I just put in a JSON file. I've used something for some data to get. So I'm pulling that out through this code here to read from that JSON file. And we can look at that JSON file. If I don't already have it pulled up, I don't. So we'll pull it up. So I just put in some sample states in here. So just using an array with state and then the state name in here. So that's how I built this out. Again, I'll put all of this in the Domo Community post. So that controller is pulling from that in there and using the state model in order to do that. So we've got that pulling through on the index page, and then we'll get to the details page in a second where I'm also doing that in here. We'll hop over to the index page. So you see the index page is going to take the state that's being passed through the route, and we're just going to display oh, so that's ripping through the state. Here, the details page now is where it takes you to. And so we've got just showing our selected state in here. And then I'm doing 2 Domo cards. And so we've got 2 embed IDs. I'll go and show you how to create those embed IDs in there. And then scroll down further here. So we're going to use these embed IDs here. So this gets a little bit more involved. So again, probably not worth trying to explain every single code, line of code in here. Let me clean up some extra old references here. Make this make a little more sense. So pulling in the state in here, this is where our filtering comes into play, so that this card will filter based off of the state that was selected. So this is our filter JSON array that we're building here, where we need a column and what that name is in the data set. And that name in the data set is called state. And then we're doing an in, and then our value is the state that was selected in here, which is being passed from above. And where you see this load Domo card function here, where we're passing in the embed ID and the ID. So further down, we're going to use this Domo token service, which I'll show you in just a minute. But we're going to pass in the filter that was constructed and the embed ID of whatever card is being loaded. All that work goes to then create a unique token that Domo says, all right, you're okay to be able to render this card back. So then further down here, we able to just go through that, build out that token, build out that iframe in here. So let me hop over to the Domo service. So this is in the services folder. We've got a Domo service. This is all very generic here, so you should be able to just copy and paste this without doing anything. This is transferable here. And I may have gotten this from the documentation, I don't recall, or ChatGPT, help me, I don't remember. So it's running through all of this and parsing all that for us and getting us a service. And then this Domo token request that gets called is just those 2 things that we need, strings that we need. This model here. So that's the Domo token request. And let's also check the program CS. So I believe, yep. So these 2 services need to be added to your program.cs file for that all to work. Then we get the Domo controller is also necessary here. So This is where this should all be very transferable as well. Um, and this is where it gets pretty funky, where I did not find the Domo documentation to have this, but had some help out in the Domo community from Elliot and Matthew, being able to generate this. So this is gonna create a iframe and then the form inside here in order to get through Domo's security, essentially, to let this render out. So this again should be pretty transferable. You can adjust this height and width in here if you like, if you don't like how it rendered out for you. So that's maybe one modification you might do in here. But all of this here is going to get you what you need in order to pull that off. So with all those things in place, I think we've covered each of these files that we needed. So we've got the state JSON for the sample list of states to give some sort of data that you would be using. We have the Domo controller and the home controller, the controllers file. We've got the Domo token request model. We've got the state model I showed you, the Domo service, and the services file, and then your folder, and then the details and the index page. So the index, obviously just the home page, and then the details is where you're going to render out a card. So if I throw back, since I didn't even show you how to get those two embed IDs, that's certainly an important part. So let's go over there momentarily. And on a card, if you click the wrench and click Domo Everywhere, it's going to default to being off here. But you change it to private, set any things you want to allow or not allow. Like I want to show the title, I want to show the summary number, but I don't want to drill. I don't want to allow filter changes or chart picker. Once you've got that, then you can copy this embed ID is all you need. And you're going to paste that into where I showed you in the whichever card you want to show, and then do the same for the other card you want. You can do that as many times as you want. So once you have those things in place, let me go render out what that's going to look like for us locally here. If I get a valid client ID and secret in place. One other thing that I found that you had to do was to go to admin and security and embed authorized domains and enter in your local host when you're developing Visual Studio, as well as the domain that you're going to embed your cards in. Documentation here again is a little iffy about saying if it's blank, it'll work, but I found that I had to add that in there. I don't know if it's because I am doing filtering that it didn't require, but this is what I found, that I had to add these as well. Always fun waiting for it in a live demo. We should get our page. All right, so there's our list of states that we had in our JSON file. So it's rendering that out. And if we click on, say, Florida, we see our selected state of Florida in here. And then this card is now filtered to Florida. This card is filtered to Florida as well. That's how you implement it into a .NET web app. There's a lot to go through, but again, I'll post the code in the Domo community because that's just too much to try and do in a video in here. But that should get you started using a empty MVC app using Visual Studios. Start new project, and I'll give you the basic files, and then you can update that with what you need and get you a working example, and then you can then take that and implement something more specific to your needs. So hope you found that helpful, and reach out if you have any questions. Thank you.